Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first digital trade mission and webinar on microgrids and self-sufficiency in local communities. My name is Lucas Kortenhaus. I'm from the German-Irish Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and I will be your moderator today. Next to me on the screen, you will see our CEO, Ralf Lissek, and German Ambassador, Ms. Daike Pötzel, who will do the introduction shortly. Just a bit about the background. This trade mission is a project by the German Energy Solutions from the Federal German Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy. And the goal is to foster bilateral relationships on the topic of energy and energy efficiency. We have put together a program of great speakers. All are experts on the fields. And just so you know, all the presentations will be available online after the webinar, as well as the recording. Part of this trade mission are 8 German companies from the energy sector. They are all looking for collaborations with Irish partners. Today you can listen to the presentations in the brochure, which you can find on the right-hand panel, and you can download it there. You will find more information on the Irish companies. If you are looking to meet with any of them, we have set up a hotline of numbers. You can find those telephone numbers in the brochure, and you can call my colleagues to arrange digital meetings. Their schedule is busy for the next days. For the 8 German companies, we have organized more than 50 individual meetings. And then for the program, just a brief one. At 10:40 and 11:45, we'll have a short Q&A session. You can post your questions on the right-hand side in the chat. And after or during the Q&A session, I'll pick the questions up and bring them to the speakers. After the webinar, we will have a networking session. In that networking session, you can network with the other attendees and the speakers. If you haven't registered yet, I encourage you to do so either now or at the break at 10:50. And we will post the link again in the chat. And just a tip, it will be good if you can connect to your LinkedIn account, because that makes it easier later for the networking. Yeah, and with that, I'm happy to hand over to Ralf. Ralf, thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Good morning to you all. Thank you for participation to our seminar today. Microgrids is a topic. We're looking forward to have you on board for today and tomorrow. Our aim is to connect companies, connect people, we open doors. That is our guideline of the chamber. Our team itself, we have 11 people. They're focusing on that activities. And we work not on our own. We always cooperate with partners. And I'm delighted to mention the German embassy represented today by Her Excellency Daike Pötzel, who you can see Daike Pötzel on the screen. The ambassador will address us as soon as I'm finished. We work in Germany with Irish agencies as well, supporting agencies, and with the Irish Embassy. Today we have other Irish partners on board, and I'd like to mention the Department for Communications, Climate Action and Environment, in particular Rory Sommers, who will be a speaker today, and I know that Gerald McTiernan is present as well. So you're very welcome, and for all of you, you can see that we're well embedded here in Ireland and in Germany. We think we have a good setup for you, well connected. We are established for 40 years. In fact, this year is our celebration year anniversary, 40 years German-Irish Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And you have met already Lucas in the marketing department. I just mentioned another colleague, Judith Clinton. You might be in contact already, or maybe in the future. Judith has more than 20 years experience for supporting Irish companies entering export markets. We are a bilateral organization. We open doors for you in Germany and in Ireland. Timing for today couldn't be better. I think it's ideal, and we see 4 reasons for that. First of all, Ireland is a little bit behind within the sector green tech. And we compare that with peer countries in Europe, so we see there is a lot of potential to catch up. The second one is Ireland is willing to do so. As you all know, we have a new government in Ireland since Saturday. It's a green participation And there's a commitment within 100 days to put activities into law. We expect, and actually the whole nation, Ireland, expects a lot from this new government, particularly in the sector of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and so on. And this strong commitment is, you have to see in combination with that Ireland has actually the potential to invest. We know that in other countries, it's, sometimes the will is there, but maybe they're not so much finances available to do so. It has to be said that Ireland is actually a rich country. If now the GDP per head in Ireland is higher, almost 30% higher than the German GDP. So there is potential in that market as well. The last reason, and then I will finish with my little introduction, is Brexit. Unfortunately, not a positive aspect, but the consequences out of Brexit are severe for all nations, but for Ireland in particular, we all know that. And what we see is that Germany can substitute the UK in the future, not only as export market. In our view, it's much more important to see it from the import side, from the supply side. So in other words, the German companies can be supplier for Irish companies in the future to substitute the UK. If you know that 80% of all the goods entering Ireland come either from the UK or go through the UK, you see the sheer dimension behind it. So we feel there could be a result that if you go through the sea bridge, that means directly from the continent to Ireland by sea, you avoid the UK in that context and all the probably uncertainties we face. We don't know yet, but it looks like that there will be more costs involved anyway, and you can avoid that. A final word to our activities after that meeting. As I mentioned, we are bilateral. We have a lot of different activities next to matchmaking, next to this kind of trade missions, if it is payroll or tax advice. In addition, we do website localization. And that means, in other words, localization. Sorry, that means, in other words, we help you to set up your own PR activities, your website for different markets. And on the occasion of our today's event, occasion of these trade missions, we offer for 2 Irish companies a website localization for free. That means Irish companies can avail of our service, and we translate and tailor the website for the German market. For 2 suitable companies, please get back to my colleague Judith Clinton in that regard. And the same is for German companies, our German participants, 2 suitable companies. If they're interested, we do the website in English, which means it's not only for the Irish market, it's for the English-speaking market. Very interesting. And that could be something our companies can think of. Today, we have 140 companies registered for our events. More than 50 meetings, appointments are already organized. And we're very happy with that so far. But don't worry if you don't have any appointments yet. As Lucas mentioned, during the day, we are able to sort you that you get your appointments, your meetings with the German companies. I hand you over now to Her Excellency Heike Potze, the German ambassador. Enjoy the speeches and the meetings and keep in touch. As I said, we open doors for you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph. Thank you so much for the warm words. Let me first of all say, obviously, hello to everyone, but also express my hope that everybody is well. We are really living in and meeting in testing times with momentous challenges ahead of us, ahead of our countries all over Europe. And Ralph, you already mentioned a few of these challenges. I would like to thank the Chamber and the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy of Germany for organizing this very timely webinar. And I'm very happy to see that our strong bilateral relations and our cooperation are lively and vivid also in times of unprecedented crisis. I would like to congratulate you and obviously also Lucas on the foresight for choosing this topic. I think COVID-19, the pandemic, has also shown us that we need to think about different ways to increase our strategic sovereignty in more than one way. And I think the topic you are dealing with today and microgrids can definitely be part of this. All European countries, as I'm sure you know, set out on ambitious climate action courses. The European Green Deal is spoken about a lot, I'm sure in your circles particularly. The roadmap for making the EU's economy sustainable, setting the aim that there will be no net emissions of greenhouse gases by 2050, i.e. making the EU climate neutral by that date. That means investing in environmentally friendly technologies, supporting industry to innovate, and also decarbonizing the energy sector. And there are, of course, national green action programs too, and you mentioned it, Ralph, the new Irish government also sets itself very, very ambitious targets in that respect. We, as we take over the European presidency tomorrow, we also make it one of our top priorities that we will have a green recovery to tackle the COVID-19 crisis fallout. So that will definitely be high up on the list of our presidency program. So any step I think is important, and as I said, microgrids for me can certainly play an important role. Germany stands ready, as you said and underlined, Ralph, to share with Ireland her experience in the field of of energy transition and microgrids. And German suppliers have traditionally been strong in this field and offer a broad range of technology, as I'm sure you will speak about today. What I'm particularly happy about is that this is also embedded, this webinar, the topic you've chosen, in the so-called joint action plan between Germany and Ireland, which was adopted in November 2018. And it talks also about a closer cooperation between our two countries in the field of energy and climate action. Our ministries on both sides vote to foster exchange on best practices, for instance, in the area of energy modeling, and an exchange of grid renewables integration, and best practices for information, dialogue, and participation in order to raise public awareness and social acceptance for the importance of and need for infrastructure projects, including air grid and German TSOs. And that also, of course, means strengthening cooperation also in research and innovation. So it's all there, and this webinar really picks up on that, and I'm very, very happy about that, I have to admit. So that's why I would like to invite you to continue actively seeking the exchange of experience between Germany and Ireland and between our communities. For example, with the support of the German Agency for Renewable Energies, Galway and Dunleer have already successfully partnered up with two communities in Germany, that is Pfaffenhofen in Bavaria and Aalheim in Hesse. And the German embassy is always happy to support you in finding a partner community, in establishing contact to the ministry, but also obviously Ralph and his team are there to help you, as he said. So with this, I really would like to wish the webinar all the best, best of luck, best of success. My greetings go out to all the enormous number of listeners who tune in. Good luck, and I hope that from this webinar, new cooperations will start. As I say, we are always very happy to help. So thank you so much for having me, and all the best. Stay safe, keep well.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those introduction words. And with that, I would like to actually hand over to our very first speaker for today, Ferdinand from Energiewächter.
Hello, Lucas, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah. And now you should see me as well in a second. Let's try it again.
No worries.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, Lucas. Hello, everybody in Ireland. Hello from Berlin. Thank you for the very nice introduction. And yes, today I will give you a very short and brief overview about the German energy transition and where did we start and why did we start and how far did we get so far. Yeah. So I'm free to start. Thank you, Lucas. Well, first I want to talk a little bit about the reasons for the German energy transition. Probably many of you know that we have always had a very strong movement for green topics, for environmental protection. I just want to point out 3 of the major points that really gave the Germans the push towards more sustainable energy production. First, of course, it's the reactor catastrophes of Fukushima and, of course, Chernobyl even before, that showed us Germans that even in secure or very highly developed countries like Japan, nuclear energy production is never secure, and we should always go to phase out these dangerous energy sources. Second reason is, well, Germany doesn't have very much own resources, so we import, for example, most of our natural gas from Russia, and that makes us really dependent on other partners. And we also want to become a little bit more independent from our deliverers. And additionally, Germany wanted to set an example that as a major industrial economy, an energy system can be as well sustainable and successful economically as well. Yeah. So yeah, here we have a look at the energy concept of the federal government from the year 2010, and it forms the compass of Germany's energy transition for the next decades or until 2050. As you can see, we have very ambitious goals to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions up to 80 or 95% in the year 2050. To ensure the competitiveness of the German industry and the manufacturing sector, specific goals have been set to improve the energy efficiency, because most of you also probably know that if you don't have to pay for any energy because you save it, it's the cheapest way to go for with your energy. Yeah. And well, after the decline of the GDR in Germany, actually, because our baseline was set to 1990, and after the decline of the GDR, a lot of old industries have been declined, and so we have really had high advances in the reduction of our greenhouse gases, actually. Yeah. So let's go to nowadays. Here you can see that renewables have already become Germany's #1 source of electricity. Oh no, that was a little bit too fast. Yeah, here. #1 source of electricity. Yeah, as you can see, the renewable energies combined already surpass hard coal or lignite. Nuclear is only here with a percentage of 11%. As you can see, those numbers are from 2017, but in the year 2019, already 46% of the total electricity production came from renewable energies. So I think we are really already quite at a good point here in Germany. If we take a look on the right here to the pizza shares, you can see that the different renewable energy sources, well, wind energy is already one of the strongest. The onshore sector is the strongest so far, but the offshore sector is growing very much right now in the North Sea and in the Baltic Sea. Well as PV systems and biomass and combined heat and power production also have already quite significant shares in Germany. Well, the onshore sector for wind energy is not really growing that much in Germany right now because, well, we also had our NIMBY discussions here in Germany in the recent years, so it really came a little bit to a stop, and the growth was more focused on the offshore sector. Yeah. And in the offshore sector, that's where more of the traditional energy producers have set foot in the development of the bigger parks and projects, whereas the ownership in the onshore sector, let's move on here. Yeah, here you can see the ownership in the general structure of renewable energies. As you can see, energy utilities only compare for 16%. So as I said before, most of the projects in Germany have been developed by private owners, by project developers, by communities, and even farmers. The industry has also set their own goals to use renewable energies on their factories, on their plants. But the energy utilities, they only have like 1/6 of the whole share, but they are still growing already. Yeah. So, and let's move on. Here you can see the growth of renewable energy installations in Germany over that timeline from 20 or 30 years. In the beginning, in the north of Germany, it really just started with wind energy. In the early 2000s, then the solar PV boom started in Germany and was mostly located in the south of Germany as well as in the east of Germany. And as you can see on the right side for 2030, the depiction is that more or less all over Germany, we are very well covered with renewable energy productions. So it is really very decentralized approach here in Germany, and it always we always use the renewable energies which are best fitted for the area, of course. Yeah. And as most of our wind energy production is in the north of Germany, and most of our energy intensive industries are in the south of Germany. Just some examples: Daimler, BMW, Porsche, they are all located in the south of Germany with their huge factories. So we really have a bottleneck to transfer the electricity generated in the north of Germany to the south of Germany, and that's where we are standing right now. We need more transmission lines. Of course, if you want to set up more transmission lines, you also have the NIMBY discussion as well. So it's sometimes even better to put more renewable energies closer to the consumer centers in the south, for example, more biomass and more solar PV systems even. Yeah. And well, that was just it for this very brief overview of the German energy transition. And as you can imagine, I mean, this has been a history for over 20 years now, where we have made our experiences, and that's why a lot of German companies have gained exceptional knowledge, of course, in the field of renewable energies. And so the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy really wanted to support those companies to go abroad, find new partners, and develop more projects in other countries. And also as a part of a German contribution to the international climate protection goals was set up this Energy Solutions Initiative. And well, here we are right now as part of this program. We have 8 German companies for you to present themselves. And I will just skip this slide ahead. And here you have our website, germanenergysolutions.de. You can register for our international newsletter and find more information about German technologies and events and facts. And that's from my side. Thank you for having me and taking the time. And I'm looking forward to a very nice event now. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ferdinand. Great presentation. And with that, I will hand over to our next speaker, which is Ms. Gottke from the German Energy Storage Systems Association in Germany. Ms. Gottke, the stage is yours. We don't have your audio yet. Alan, can you activate? Yeah, now.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. I'm very excited to be part of this Irish-German exchange today, and thank you to the Chamber and to Energiewächter for inviting me to be part of this exchange today. And I will introduce you to the current developments of the German energy storage systems industry. I cannot see my slides yet. Could you put them on, please? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Yes. Okay, and now I can move them. Wonderful. So this is my agenda. This is what I would like to talk with you about today. First of all, I have a brief introduction of the German Energy Storage Systems Association, and then talk about the role of energy storage systems in the Energiewende, to then introduce you to current trends of the energy storage systems industry, to then conclude. The VWS, the German Energy Storage Systems Association, is an industry association that is open to all various kinds of storage technologies across all different sectors, from electricity to heat to mobility. And this is a little excerpt of our membership, just to give you an idea of what kind of different companies are part of our association. Okay, I hope the slide stays where it is, because it's a very important slide. I would like to think it is a famous slide, our BVS Swiss Army knife that we liked to use to compare energy storage systems with. Because with a Swiss Army knife, you have like this one little flexible tool. It can be applied in so many different ways, with a corkscrew and a little knife and all the things you need in your pocket. And energy storage systems work in a similar way. You have like this one flexible technology that can be applied in so many different ways. For example, to increase the energy efficiency, for positive or negative control energy, for reactive power compensation, for off-grid supply, for backup energy, for sector coupling, frequency control, decarbonization, shifting excess energy to other sectors, uninterrupted power supply, power capacity increase, charging infrastructure, black start capability, peak load smoothing, or the optimization of self-supply. And all these different applications can be used in one technology next to each other. Okay. Also, for our introduction, I would like to say a few words about the role of energy storage in the Energiewende. In the process of the Energiewende, so I mean the transformation of the energy system, we are confronted with several challenges. And here I have summarized the main challenges. In the local issue, the challenge is that the strong wind energy production in northern Germany must go to the main sources of consumption, such as the energy-intensive industry in southern Germany. Supply needs to better match with demand. This is what Ferdinand touched upon a bit earlier. And the system issue is about making our centralized fossil fuel-based system more flexible and to decentralize it. And with the power issue, it is important to consider that we need more power as compared to energy in the future if we orientate the energy system towards the use of 100% renewables, and thus focus more on the use of electricity. Energy storage systems can be applied in many various ways, as I pointed out, and this can be used systemically for systems of any size. They are tools to decentralize a system, to digitize it and decarbonize it. Energy storage technologies can help to displace fossil energy sources and thus reduce CO2 emissions. It is quite clear that regional communities that want to be supplied 100% from renewable energy sources will thus rely on systems with energy storage for the supply of electricity, heat, and mobility. The use of storage and renewable energy systems offers regional communities a variety of benefits that I've pointed out here in an overview. First of all, storage systems enable flexible provision of fluctuating renewable energy when consumers need it, for example, at night, in the winter, and so on. If the energy is used directly on site, where it is generated, transmission losses are avoided. The use of energy storage represents a cost, resource, and time-efficient alternative to simple grid expansion. If additional power and energy has to be available or can be absorbed at short notice and possibly only for a limited period of time, storage facilities can usually be built up more quickly. So additional grid expansion can usually only begin after a few years. And energy storage facilities use fewer resources to be built up. In general, storage facilities can also be dismantled at the site and then be rebuilt at another location. And they are comparatively cheaper because they are designed to fit exactly. Then energy supply via renewable energy storage systems increases regional value creation on site and opens up new opportunities for business models. Renewable regional energy supply opens up improved participation opportunities for the local population, and low-income households are better integrated and get access to more affordable energy supply. Renewable regional energy supply increases the acceptance of climate-friendly solutions, and as a rule, much less space is required for the use of systems consisting of energy storage and renewables than for the development of conventional energy supply. With the Micro Design Directive and sorry, I just got the note that my battery is running low. One sec. With the Micro Design Directive and the Renewable Energies Directive of the Clean Energy Package, the EU has introduced legislation to sustainably strengthen the role of so-called prosumers, a word creation from the words producer and consumer, and also to be better enable and strengthen energy communities in the long term. These are demands for which BVS fought for a long time and fortunately found an open ear in the EU. The BVS claims that it shall be made possible that energy, power, and system services are traded regionally and locally, dynamically, and in an automated manner, and it shall be made possible that citizens form easily and temporarily energy communities and trade energy freely and flexibly among themselves. The application of energy storage systems is often made artificially expensive due to extra charges, levies, fees, and taxes that are the result of the current misclassification of energy storage in the German regulatory framework. And BVS annually publishes key industry figures in our survey for 2020. Once again, the regulatory conditions for energy storage in Germany were quoted as the main market obstacle. In our industry survey, 51% of the respondents named regulatory hurdles as the main obstacle when asked what market barriers currently exist for your business in Germany. The basic problem is the inappropriate legal classification of storage facilities as consumers. Under the current conditions, energy storage facilities are classified as final consumers, which creates decisive disadvantage. And as we see in the graph, the grid-related fees and charges are imposed for every kilowatt hour that gets stored. The same charges are imposed again when the same kilowatt hour is reaching the final consumer. Therefore, the BVS claims that we need a definition of storage as fourth pillar of the energy system, next to generation, transport, and consumption. And now we have hopes that the implementation of the European Union Clean Energy Package into national law will introduce energy storage as fourth pillar of the energy system, as it introduces a clear definition of energy storage, which did not exist in Germany before. So, current trends. To move to our next chapter, current trends, I would like to first show you this overview as an introduction and to show the wide range of energy storage technologies that exist today, from mechanical, electrical, electrochemical, chemical to thermal storage. As big as the variety of technologies is, so big is the variety of possible applications of storages. These include, for example, industrial applications, applications for the integration of renewable energies in all sectors, electricity, heat, and supply. Among the continuing trends in the energy storage industry are the combination of different technologies and the cross-sector connection, for example, via the sectors electricity, heat, and mobility. I will now give you some examples. Next, yes, this is a good example for the continuing trend in the home storage market, which includes in particular the cross-sectoral system integration of storage and renewables. That means across all energy sectors, electricity, heat, and mobility. In this example, PV production plus battery storage plus heat pump plus electric storage heating plus electric vehicle is held together by a system integrating intelligent energy management. This form of decentralized and smart energy supply, as well as heat and mobility supply, is an ongoing trend. The home storage market in Germany, so I mean storage systems up to 30 kilowatt hours, continues to grow and is mainly driven by e-mobility. So, as the next example, I have chosen an example from agriculture because it shows very well how a versatile combination of different storage systems and renewables can increase efficiency. This dairy farmer has reduced his energy cost for production by 0.3 euros per liter, so 3 cents per liter, by using storage cents. Assuming that the farm produces 1,000 liters of milk per day, he now pays 300 euros less per day. He has achieved this through a combination of PV energy plus wind plus biogas plus lithium-ion battery plus redox flow storage plus heat storage, which enables him to be 100% self-sufficient in renewables. And this system is not connected to the grid. With the next two examples, I show two concepts of connecting neighboring prosumers with an energy storage system. The first one shows the Strombank project that works like a real bank. 14 different households plus 4 businesses of one district that produce their own PV power were connected with a storage entity in the center of the district. The excess energy goes into a centrally located lithium-ion battery of 100 kilowatt. The concept works like that of a bank. The participants retrieve their kilowatt hour balance online via an online account and get rewards for paying it into the storage capacity and pay for taking out of the storage capacity. This concept creates a win-win for everyone. The prosumers were only leasing the storage capacity and did not have to pay for their own system. And the storage operator could take part also in other market segments, for example, control energy or arbitrage, and can this way realize more value streams so that the system pays off faster. For the grid operator, this is a blessing because the energy supply for that district can be easier controlled. Next to the district storage, a variety of new trends with a similar intention, yet different concepts are coming to the rise, like swarm storage or virtual power plants, energy communities, blockchain technology, shared communities, and many more concepts that focus on decentralization and sharing. The concept of virtual power plants is similar to that of the district storage, yet with the difference that the storage capacity is managed digitally, as can be seen in this image here. People in different cities that have a PV power plant on their rooftop and a storage are digitally connected via a virtual cloud so that they can exchange energy. In many regions of the world, and especially in remote areas, people are unfortunately dependent on defective electricity grids or the sheer lack of grid connection. And microgrids can be operated independently or synchronously with the grid and supply remote and or rural areas safely and reliably with green, locally generated energy. They can also offer industrial and private customers a more cost-effective and reliable alternative to decentralized fossil power grids. One example is this one from the branch of mountain tourism. For the alpine hut, it would simply have been too technically complex and too expensive to lay a new line for energy supply. Therefore, the choice was quickly made in favor of a system of energy storage plus renewable energies. They chose a combination of battery storage plus PV plus combined heat and power for an efficient off-grid power supply system. And the next example shows an off-grid solution of your Gaelic neighbor on the Scottish island Eich. The inhabitants of the Scottish island are supplied with grid-independent electricity from the renewable sources of water, sun, and wind. And the system is installed with a combination of different technologies, batteries, ultracapacities, and flywheel storage. And with this system, the island's community can supply itself with energy independently of the mainland grid and has almost completely replaced the use of CO2 emission-intensive and expensive diesel generators. With the help of different storage devices, here a combination of different fast short-term storage devices, it is possible to balance the renewable generation, or in other words, the supply of energy with the consumption of energy, or you can say the demand of energy, in such a way that the frequency remains stable and the system is safe and resilient. Thanks to the system integration of energy storage technologies, a reliable and 100% renewable energy supply is possible on the island. And now I draw my conclusion. What we've learned so far, energy storage is a Swiss Army knife. Energy storage technologies plus renewables offer emission-free, secure, reliable, and efficient energy supply systems. And cross-sectoral integration of storage technology offers a huge potential of useful applications, and numerous applications in residential and industrial large-scale applications are in service and already economically viable, and fair market conditions, investment and planning security, and it also includes the openness to various technologies for energy storages are needed to better integrate energy storage as a key technology for decentralized and future-oriented system.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gottke. Perfect. Thank you for this presentation. I think especially the examples are very interesting to our Irish audience, especially the sustainable energy communities. And yeah, with that, I would like to hand over to our next speaker, and I'm pleased to introduce Rory Summers from the Department of Climate Action, Communications, and Climate Action and Environment. Sorry, there's a long title. And yes, thank you very much, Rory. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Lucas, and thank you, Ralph, and a warm welcome to Your Excellency Ambassador Putzel and all the other participants. I'd like to thank you for this invitation to take part in the seminar. I think it's a very good agenda. We've had some very interesting presentations, so congratulations to the previous speakers. And also I think the timing is excellent in terms of, as was mentioned earlier, the change in government which we received over the weekend, and possibly with the new programme for government, an increased momentum behind renewables and in particularly in microgeneration. So I'm going to talk to you about microgeneration. about the support scheme framework that we're working on within this Department of Communications, Climate Action and the Environment. Soon to be given a new name, but we will be continuing with the work nonetheless. And what I'd like to talk to you about is a bit of background on the policy landscape, what we see about experience locally and internationally in microgeneration, what are the policy principles and objectives behind the work we're doing to define a support system framework for microgeneration, how we're doing that analysis, and what the implementation route is. So on the policy landscape, I guess in 2015, the government set out the energy policy in the Energy White Paper. Shortly after, we had the EU Clean Energy Package, which previous speakers have mentioned. And in particular, I mentioned the Energy Markets Directive and the Renewable Energy Directive, which talks about active consumers, citizen energy communities, and renewable self-consumers and energy communities. And finally, we have the Government Climate Action Plan, which was published just over a year ago. And within that in particular, across 181 actions, we have the Renewable Electricity Support Scheme, which is up and running at the moment. An auction will take place in the next month for large infrastructure renewable electricity projects, but also targeting some community projects from 500 kilowatts and upwards. We have a smart meters program to deploy smart meters to all electricity consumers, and the microgeneration support framework, where the government has defined a route to market for citizens and communities to generate their own renewable electricity and to receive a fair price for doing so. So in terms of the experience of microgeneration, I just thought it would be useful to mention what has happened in some other jurisdictions. So in the UK, between 2010 and 2019, there was a feed-in tariff scheme. Up to 5 megawatt generators were supported. And during that time, over 900,000 generators availed of supports, which resulted in approximately 3% of metered connections in the UK. It was based on an internal rate of return of 7% in a 20-year contract. And the cost of the scheme is averaging about £14 per average household bill per annum. What it has achieved in those 10 years, in line with advances in technology, is a reduction in the cost of installations and the key output of this investment. So the average cost of a kilowatt of solar PV, which was by far the majority of technology used, is now £1,500. And as a result of that cost coming down, the new support framework, the Smart Export Guarantee Scheme, which came into place this year, is now a cost-neutral export tariff, which allows suppliers to offer, through flexible tariff design, average rates in the region of 3 pence to 5.5 pence per kilowatt hour. And what we see is that is reflective of the wholesale market rate for the electricity generated, and that the suppliers can do that on a cost-neutral basis. When we look in Ireland, the SEAI, the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, operates a number of schemes, including the solar PV scheme for domestic. That's been running since 2018, and in 2019, 1,827 retrofit installations were given grant supports. The grants amount to approximately 33% of capital costs. Initially, that was about €700 per kilowatt per grant, and that started demand in the market, and that demand has been growing year on year. The average cost we can see in Ireland is a little bit higher, so we have about €2,600 for the average cost of a kilowatt, and the payback is in the region of 9 to 11 years, depending on how much you're paying for electricity and how much occupancy and electricity demand you have. The SAI said that 2 kilowatts is the appropriate average size for an Irish household, and they would observe that installation costs are reducing, and also have introduced new BEO requirements. So if you want to avail of the grant, you must achieve a minimum BEO rating or building energy rating of C. And that may mean that you have to do some other energy measures in the household in order to be eligible. In the non-domestic sector, there are supports, and the number of people availing of those supports is increasing, 130 in 2019. The grant is 40% capital costs, and for these businesses, payback is in the region of 7 to 10 years, with the average size of about 25 kilowatts. And there's more information available on the links in this presentation for people afterwards if they're interested to learn more. So the market in Ireland, it's approximately 30,000 solar PV installations, approximately 1.4% of connections, and we were averaging about 14,000 installations per annum prior to COVID-19. And so the impact of COVID-19 in shutting down the building works and people entering people's homes, of course, will have an impact on this year's numbers. I also want to alert you to the fact that the new house building is the biggest contributor due to the minimum requirements for energy performance of the building regulations. There are grants and tax incentives available to install renewable electricity technology, and SCAI, however, 100 registered installers deploying solar PV technologies. There are some low-cost loans available through suppliers who are offering loans to the consumers, and the electricity DSO, the distribution system operator, has commenced installing smart meters since third quarter last year, and smart meters will be available to all microgenerators in time for the support framework in June 21. The program for smart meters itself will run until 2024, when 2.2 million smart meters will be installed for electricity consumers. So there are a number historically of barriers to microgeneration, which we learn of through some of these schemes. Obviously, available supports is perceived as being a barrier where people don't see that the incentives are enough to engage them to take part. Planning, in particular around rooftop solar installations, there are exemptions available, which is a good thing, so people can install solar PV and solar thermal up to a certain size without planning, but people who want to install larger systems see these planning exemption limits as a barrier. And I'm happy to say that there has been a revision to these exemptions that is going through the process at the moment, and we expect to be seeing some improvements in the exemption limits in the future. Grid connection policy is another, up to 6 kilowatts for single phase and up to 11 kilowatts for three phase is a fast, free, fit and inform connection policy through the regulated authority and the DSO. But above 11 kilowatts, their connections are part of a more batch process, and this is seen as an impediment. And again, I'm happy to report that the regulatory authorities indicated that they're going to introduce a new connection policy in the 11 to 50 kilowatt size, which is appropriate to that type of market, and that should be in place by June 21. There is currently no market settlement solution for microgenerators who want to export to the grid. It is being done offline by suppliers on a pilot basis only, and that pilot is closed, so there's no access to an export payment at the moment. So if a new export payment is introduced in June 21, a market settlement solution will have to be put in place. And again, the regulated authority is working on proposals around an interim settlement solution, which will facilitate the export tariff in June 21. And as I mentioned, smart meters shall be available to microgenerators. So good news in terms of the barriers to microgeneration, improvements on the way and in time for a new support framework. In terms of the policy principles, obviously under the Clean Energy Package, we need to develop the renewable self-consumer model. This has been put into action under the Climate Action Plan, and we have very firm deliverables to achieve as a government, and some of that may be reviewed under the new climate government action plan. We want to engage the community and empower them to take part in the energy transition. Where we're talking about retrofit for microgeneration, if it's integrated with the domestic energy system, there's an energy efficiency first approach, and I mentioned the BER requirement earlier aligns with that policy. We are, in microgeneration terms, talking about self-consumption, so including storage and demand response. We want to develop a policy using evidence. We want to develop a sustainable industry that doesn't stop and start as supports are introduced and reduced or taken away. And we want it to be a coherent scheme for the end consumer and to engage communities and renewable consumers. The objectives, what we want to achieve with this, I suppose we want to encourage low carbon electricity generation, including solar PV, micro wind, micro hydro, and micro CHP. So we will be technology agnostic in terms of the supports. We do see that solar PV will most likely make up the largest portion of participation in any scheme. We want to introduce carbon reduction measures, so people having energy efficiency self-consumption principles adopted, and that may foster change within people's energy consumption behavior and their awareness of climate action objectives. And also we want to develop local supply chains and drive down energy costs. So in terms of what we're looking at, we are looking at options of how the support can be designed. So suppliers could recover the costs of any supports through a cost neutral export tariff, such as the Smart Export Guarantee in the UK, or they can put it into the unit retail rates, or they may recover it through a public service obligation levy, which is a separate item on the energy consumer bill. Or separately, the Exchequer, the Irish government, covers the cost via a grant scheme or carbon taxes or other mechanism. And one example, under the Renewable Energy Directive, renewable self-consumers will be entitled to a payment for excess electricity from renewable self-generation that reflects the market value. So that may be all that is introduced under the support framework, as in option 1 on the screen, or on the right-hand side, it may be that there is that minimum export payment and additional supports by suppliers or grants or funded through the PSO or government levy. So what are we doing to develop the policy? We are looking at the policy instruments across other jurisdictions and what has worked well, and what improvements and what challenges there are. We're looking deep dive on the technology costs, so how much does it cost to install, what is the appropriate target cost for technology, what is the difference in the technology costs and the energy produced, so we get the levelized cost of energy. We're then looking at the viability gap, so how much money would it take to reimburse somebody reasonably to invest in this technology over and above the savings that they might make from their own energy consumption. And now out of that analysis, we'll develop the support options and look at the cost-benefit analysis of those supports. So the long-term benefits of microgeneration support are a decrease in the demand overall. So if we have large-scale deployment of microgeneration through the self-consumption element, overall energy demand is lowered. We reduce losses on the network because the production of electricity is sited where it's consumed, and so there's no network losses. And we reduce gross network investment costs. So there is less infrastructure required to move electricity around in large part, as we saw in the German example, where renewable electricity production in the north needs to travel down to the demand centres in the south and southwest. And we shall increase renewable electricity generation generally. We would increase community acceptance of renewable generation infrastructure. We would seek to have them participate actively as active consumers and renewable communities. And we would generally increase, outside of people that participate, the public support for renewables, which is part of the energy transition. So the framework, we have a microgeneration working group, which is set up with the relevant stakeholders. We have the piece of work to look at the policy support analysis, which is underway at the moment. We hope to finish that work in the next couple of months. After that, then we will put out a proposal through a public consultation, which will take place in the third quarter of this year. And that will set out what the policy supports are and how people can access them. After that, the final policy will be published, and in early 2020, we will go into the implementation phase, where we set up the relevant instruments and settlement solutions, architecture, etc., to implement the supports. And finally, in June 21, we anticipate the launch of this microgeneration framework. So quite a lot happening at the moment, and a lot more to do between now and then. But we're very engaged in this process, and we look forward to hearing about some more of the technologies from the other presenters, because Ireland, as was mentioned, is possibly a little behind in terms of the technology, and we want to use the latest technologies to leverage the best possible development for the end consumer. Thank you very much. I would just say that there's some more information available through the links on the presentation if anybody is interested. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Rory, for the great presentation. And now with that, we're going into the presentations of the first German companies. Now, on another note here, again, I mentioned before, we have set up some telephone lines in case you want to arrange digital meetings with any of the German companies. They're displayed here again on the screen, and again, they can be found in the booklet. So if you like to meet any of the German delegates, please don't hesitate to call. And yeah, now to our first German company, which is part of this trade mission. I'd like to introduce Marcel Hartmann from 2G Energy. And yeah, good luck, Marcel. We look forward to your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Lucas. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of 2G, allow me to a warm welcome to you. My name is Marcel Hartmann. I'm a sales manager in 2G, and I'm very happy to be here. I want to give you a short presentation about the company 2G. The purpose of the presentation is that you know who 2G is and what we can do for you. Okay. The agenda, I want to tell you some things about the combined heat and power, CHP, about 2G, the leading gas engine technology, and then my colleague and partner Frank will talk to you and tell some things about 2G and our partner. Okay, what is the meaning of combined heat and power? The main difference to the energy production system everyone knows is, yeah, the efficiency, the total efficiency, because we will use the heat in the heat and the electricity power, and it's decentralized and not centralized on a stage wherever. It's decentral, and you can use the power, and important, you can use the heat too. The input you can put in on CHP is on 2G side gas. Yeah, if you can use biogas, you can use natural gas, you can use liquid gas, or you can use hydrogen. 100% hydrogen for our CHP. Important is the total efficiency from the heat and power plants. And you can get out heat, power, steam, or cold, whatever you want or need in your property. And it's highly flexible and to sum up, we have a lot of application where you can use heat and power directly. So, you know, schools, universities, food, industrial companies, retirement homes, swimming pools, wherever you know that you can use heat and power too, it could be personate from CHP system. Most of them need heat and power, and CHP can be a perfect option for this application. Let me tell you some things about 2G. We can be a good partner for you, and with Frank together in Ireland for CHPs. We founded in 1995 in Germany. Our headquarters is on the northwest of Germany. G is a solution provider. We from development, project engineering, production, service, and financing, everything around CHP. We and our partner can do it for you. As I said, if you want to use biogas, natural gas, hydrogen, whatever, we have systems between 20 kW up to 2000 kW electrical power you can use for this. One of the important milestones from G were in 2007, we entered the stock market, and that was the part, it gave us a financial flexibility to go around the world and to make a strong focus on R&D to make our systems better and flexible. Summarized, it is a very broad product portfolio from 20 kV up to 2000 kV electrical power. As I said, biogas, natural gas, liquid gas, or hydrogen. Important milestone of our company is our own gas engine optimization with a strong focus on R&D. The international service and project management network will our own employees and very good partners on the side. We can go around the world with our products with more than 600 employees only for CHPs and near 6,000 CHP plants in more than 45 countries around the world. And here you can see where our partners are located and subsidiaries as well, and our daughter companies were there. The leading gas technology, you can see our portfolio. We have some product groups names. And here you can see the type of fuel they can use. We have the G-boxes, the smaller ranged CHPs from 20 up to 50 kilowatt electrical power. They can use natural gas and a liquid gas, both of them. The Aura with 100 to 150 kW, the Patros from 50 up to 263 kW. The Genset up to 550 kW, and the Elva. The groups Aura up to Elva you can use with Microgas, or you can use it with hydrogen. So I think that was my part. Yeah, you can use whatever. An example is here a containerized system from us. We packaged it with a CHP system with electricity, yes, heat and steam and cold in one package for one customer. So that is one example for this, what we can do in every power range if you want, and every temperature you need. And now I will give the words to my colleague Frank in Ireland, and then he can tell you what he can do for you in Ireland. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcel. I don't know if I've got control. Oh, I do. I've got control of the screen now. So I'm from Glenergy. We're based in Kilcool. Welcome to my garden in Greystones in County Wicklow. We have a long history in CHP in Ireland, but primarily in the micro CHP market. So we're concentrating on the G-box range, that 2G supply. We're specialists in NZ solutions, that's near zero energy building solutions. We do sales and service. So I know we're running a little bit over time, so I'm just going to very quickly give you 2 or 3 slides of a sample project that we've done with 2G in Ireland. And this is a project in City West in Dublin with a few hundred apartments. It's centralized heat generation, so the heat is distributed from a central source to the few hundred apartments that are in the complex. And in this job, we've dropped in two 2G G-Box 20s. And what they're doing is electrically, they're supplying electricity to the landlord, and thermally, the heat is being distributed to all the apartments across the development. Roughly speaking, that's kind of how that's the schematic of the installation, where you have your boilers feeding heat up to all the apartments, system circuits in this case, and the two CHPs are contributing to the heat, and the electricity off the CHPs are going into the building to provide electricity to the landlord loads and reduce the electricity consumption. This is how you create an NZEP solution for the same application. So you've got a CHP, which you drop in a heat pump. So because heat pumps and CHPs don't usually work very well together because of the temperatures that they operate at, we've developed this solution because in these applications, the return temperature from the apartments is usually very low. So it suits that a heat pump is added to the application. So to get those apartments into compliance with NZEP, we drop in a heat pump. So told you I'd be brief, Lucas. Hopefully we're back on track. There's my contact details, and if there's any questions, we'd be happy to address them at the end of the seminar.
Perfect. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Marcel. And that was our first German company. And with that, we hand over to our next German company, which is MWM GmbH. Lars Brzeski. Lars, I'll put you on now. Perfect.
Hello, everybody. Can you see me well? Lucas, can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you. We can hear you. Perfect. The stage is yours.
Okay. Good. All right then. Yeah, very warm welcome from my side. I hope this I can't. There we go. All right, very warm welcome, and yeah, just go back one slide. Very warm welcome. My name is Lars Brzeski, as Lucas has already told you. I'm going to give you a brief presentation on MWM today. MWM is a brand of Caterpillar Energy Solutions, which is one of the world's leading manufacturers of gas generating sets. Our gas gen sets are basically used for all sorts of applications, from power generation to CHP, but they are also very well suited for microgrids, and they do for sure help all our clients to increase their self-sufficiency. About myself, I'm working in sales, and part of my responsibility is also the sales of MWM products into Ireland. For today's webinar, I've prepared my presentation split into 3 parts. And the first part, I'm going to give you a brief overview on the company. In the second part, I'm going to talk a little bit about our product portfolio. And last but not least, in the third part, I'm going to talk about MWM in Ireland. I'm going to introduce our local service and distributing partner, a company called Edina. For your better understanding of what we actually do and what our partner is capable of, I will just highlight one of our references here in Ireland. And last but not least, I will close the presentation by sharing our goals for the market in Ireland. All right, coming to the history of the company. So our company was founded back in 1871 by Mr. Carl Benz. So we have a very long history, and I don't want to go through everything, just one important date also here in 2011. Our company was acquired by Caterpillar, the US company, as they wanted to grow their gas business, and we were one of the key players on the market. And now we are part of Caterpillar's electric power division. So to bring our products to market, we follow a multi-channel strategy. So we do have fully owned subsidiaries in certain countries like Spain, France, and Austria, where we interact directly with end clients. In countries where we do not have an own presence, like in Ireland, for example, we do work with official and certified distributors of ours. So this puts us in a position that our product is pretty much available all over the world. Up to now, we have more than 60 countries of the world where our products are being operated in. And just in the last 10 years, we have delivered equipment that can produce more than 7,000 megawatt of electric power. So on to the next slide. This is just giving you a little bit of an overview on where our products potentially could be found or could be utilized. Pretty much a wide range. Wherever there is a huge demand for heat and electricity, gas gensets and CHP technology is a good fit. Just to pick a few examples, infrastructure projects, if you think of airports, Dublin Airport, for example, is using some of our gensets. We also have huge university campuses like Trinity College in Dublin is also using our gensets. But there are also different sorts of applications like hospitals where you will find our gensets. On the next slide, just a little bit on why our CHP systems or gas gensets are so good to increase self-sufficient energy generation. It's basically because they can flexibly integrate it into existing systems. So we ourselves, but also our partners, have the opportunity to prefabricate and package small power plants, really, including the gas genset, deploy them to site very quickly, reduce the time and work at the client side, and then you just need to plug the gas in, plug the power cables, and then you're more or less good to go to start generating electricity, but also heat for the clients. And another benefit of it is you create a certain redundancy. You become a bit more independent from the public grid and other electricity sources. So whenever there might be a blackout, the engines can still continue to run and provide you or your site, whatever you want to operate, with electricity and heat. So on the next slide, you will see an overview of our Genset series that we offer. So basically 4 series. From the smallest to the biggest, 3016, 3020, 2032, and TCG 3042. With these 4 genset series and in different cylinder configurations, we can cover a power range from 400 kilowatt electric to all the way up to 10,300 kilowatt electric power output. So whatever is within this range, we will have a suitable product that can generate the demanded electricity and heat. Okay, on to the next part. So MWM in Ireland, we are very pleased and happy to partner with a local company called Edina. It's an Irish company headquartered in Dublin. We are working with them for a long time already. They also do have offices in Manchester, and they run an own manufacturing plant in Northern Ireland, in Lisburn. And together we have, in the last years, installed already more than 500 megawatts of CHP and power generation sites in the UK and Ireland. And we can pretty much together offer everything needed from CHP, feasibility studies, but also full turnkey projects. And on top of that, our partner is regularly trained by us, and they are capable and authorized to carry out all sorts of maintenance on our gensets, and they do O&M contracts with availability guarantees, and they do 24-hour monitoring. So they take good care that whenever we have a plant, they operate very smoothly and without any issues. Now to make it a bit more, give you a bit more an idea of what we actually do. This is one of our references in Ireland with a big company, Bosch & Lomb in Waterford. They produce eye contact lenses over there. And yeah, we were asked by them to provide them with a CHP system. What we as NWM did is we provided the genset, which you can see on the bottom right picture. And our local partner company, Edina, has done the whole installation, whole turnkey project, and delivered the CHP plant, which you can see on the top right of your screen. And this installation is helping our client to save around €1 million per year. And it meets, 72% of the electricity demand of the site and 91% of the thermal energy needed for the production. And yeah, the beauty of CHP system is it also helps to cut down on carbon emissions, which will be a more and more important topic also looking to the future. And as I mentioned, company Edina is also carrying out the operation and maintenance. And yeah, the plant is achieving very, very good availability of more than 97.2%. So that's very, very well. That's a nice example of what we do and what our partner is capable of. So on to my last slide, the goals for the market in Ireland. Obviously, we would like to extend our current market position together with our partner. We want to maintain our current business relationships that we have and strengthen them. But also we would be very happy to identify new potential market segments and win new clients. So yeah, sorry, I have to rush through the slides a little bit. But if you have any questions or queries, you will find my contact details here. And I'd like to thank you all very much for your attention. I'd also like to thank Lucas and the German-Irish Chamber for organization and letting us participate here today. So yeah, thank you and enjoy the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you very much for that presentation. Very interesting. And again, the contact details here if anybody would like to get in touch or later in the networking event. And with that, we come to our next speaker, Jens Werner from Die Energiekoppler. Jens, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas, for the introduction. I hope you hear me.
Yes, everything's fine.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jens. As Lucas already mentioned, I'm from Die Energiekoppler GmbH. You and me know the two major trends in the field of energy supply. The first one is a decentralization, so we will not have big power plants in future. More and more small energy devices like PV plants, wind farms, heat pumps, and so on. And the second trend is the sector coupling, which means the combination of heat, electricity, and mobility in future. And these two major trends are characterized by several thousands of energy units, which are already installed in residential and commercial use buildings. And these energy devices have a high potential if we control the energy devices in different use cases. And I want to show you in an example how we could use this potential, or what use case will be there. So imagine you in your wonderful home with a photovoltaic panel on the roof. And with intelligent control, we can make it possible that as much as possible from the electricity from your roof can be used to supply heat to your home with a heat pump. This cuts energy costs in the building. The surplus can be stored in the battery storage of your neighbor, and you can use it next day to load your electrical car. And as you can see in the example, it's an example for an energy community, but the physical power flow in the energy community will be optimized, so it will be a more sustainable energy community. And another use case to use the flexibility of the energy devices. Flexibility means the controllability of the energy devices is for marketing, for example, against third parties, for example, against energy utility. But I want to introduce Die Energiekoppler GmbH at first. We are a technology provider for connecting, monitoring, and operation of energy devices. And we established in January 2020 and have a research background of 9 years here at the Technische University Dresden. And we are a team of 3 at the moment, with Tobias, our passionate software developer. Irina is our second CEO, and Myron, I have also a technical background. I am responsible for business development and sales. So what we provide to you is our flexibility plant. It's a special kind of a virtual power plant, but the specific is that we market flexibility of the devices. So the flexibility plant is a platform, it's software and hardware, and it's a technology which is highly optimized and it's standardized, standardized system solution. In addition to that, we have different services. For example, the complete integration of an energy device, which is included if you use the flexibility plant. We takes over the operation of the IT infrastructure for the flexibility plant. And we also realize potential analysis to define a business case for you, and also after sales service and as a form of support. And if you use the flexibility plant, I will explain it on the next slide in detail, you get a solution for a fast and cost-optimized connection and operation of energy devices, for example, to use it in a sustainable energy community. So the flexibility plant consists of 2 components. The first component is the swarm box. It is installed at every energy device. And the second part is the overlay coordinator, the swarm hub. The swarm box is the main element because it's the interface to the energy device. And from this energy device, we measure the data, and also from external equipment, measurement equipment, for example. And based on this data, we calculate the forecast of the heat demand or the electrical demand which we have in the building. And based on this forecast and the measurement data which we have in the building, we determine the flexibility, how we can control the energy device in future. And the flexibility can be used at first on the layer of the building. So with the swarm box, we make a first optimization, a self-consumption optimization in the building. And on the second layer, on the swarm hub, we do the second optimization. For example, in the case of energy community, we balance generation and consumption every time so that we get a really good energy community. The swarm box is hardware and software. So it's the interface to the energy devices, as I already mentioned. And the hardware is designed to have a low installation effort with a clever hardware concept. So we have the possibility to extend the hardware interfaces to energy devices, but also to measurement equipment with different add-on modules. For example, for LTE, analog input, output, or something else, as you can see here on this slide. Furthermore, we have different software components which are running on the swarm box. These are, for example, the forecasting modules for electrical and thermal demands, and furthermore, protocols for connecting to energy devices, but also to central control centers. The overlay coordinator, the swarm hub, it's a central connector. So it connects all the energy or all the swarm boxes, and so also the energy devices. It monitors all the energy devices, and it coordinates the energy devices by scheduling or by calculating a schedule for each energy device based on the specific optimization function or objective function. So if you are running a sustainable energy community, you have the objective function to balance power generation and consumption every time under consideration of PV feed-in or wind feed-in, for example. But you can also use it to market flexibility against third parties to increase, for example, revenues by selling your produced energy. So if you use the flexibility plant, you have different use cases. You can have different use cases for that. The first one is the regional flexibility market, which means you want to increase independence against third parties, for example, in form of a neighborhood supply or in form of a sustainable energy community. Another specific use case will be the grid management. So you can operate energy devices under consideration of the network restrictions which you have in the electrical network. The second use case is the marketing of the flexibility, which means that you market the operation of energy devices and the produced energy optimized so that you get the biggest or the highest revenue against a third party, for example, energy utility. Two classical use cases are the building monitoring and the device monitoring. So we collect the data from the energy devices and from the building, and we can monitor these detailed data, but also aggregated data for the whole pool. And the last one is a direct marketing of renewable energy sources or combined heat and power plants. So if you use the flexibility plant, you benefit by a standardized solution. So you have no initial costs and you pay for each connected device. It's a system solution, so it's scalable and extendable, which means that you get all the time software updates, you get new function which will be developed in the next time, and the solution is open to technology, which means we can integrate photovoltaic plants, wind farms, combined heat and power plants, also heat pumps or electrical heaters. And you get a highly automated solution, so we realize a fast and cost-optimized integration of energy devices, which is really necessary for a good business case. So if you are an energy community, for example, then don't hesitate to contact me if you are interested in our solution, which is really nice and really new and technology driven. So contact me for a meeting, and I'm looking forward to connect to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jens. Great presentation again. Thank you very much. And with that, we go to our next German company, Markus Hippelsteiner from Elva Elektrowärme GmbH. Yeah, there you are. Hello, Markus.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present Elva and our solutions for the Energiewende. And I've been listening very intensely to the presentation I've heard so far, and I see a lot of overlaps here, and maybe I will go into details during my presentation. At first, I would like to give you a short overview. Can I click forward?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. A short overview about, or tell you where we come from and where we want to go in the future. Elva is a quite old company. It was founded by my grandfather in 1931, so we are almost 90 years old now. We are pioneers in electric heating. That's where we come from. It's fully family owned, and our turnover is about 10 million euros. At the moment, we are 30 people in the offices and 45 in production. Here's a short overview of our products. On the top of the screen, you see our, I would call it the classic portfolio. This is where we come from. We produce flow heaters, electric flow heaters, and preheaters for diesel engines. So we are around all the large diesel engines from MAN, Caterpillar, Rolls-Royce, and Wärtsilä, where we preheat the fluids like cooling water, lubrication oil, even the fuels. And well, we've been very successful in this business in the past years. but a couple of years ago, we just by accident stumbled across a project where a small community went more or less off-grid, and they bought a system from us where we didn't know that it was going to be used as a power-to-heat system. But this is our new product range for the renewable market, and this is the bottom side of the screen. We produce power-to-heat units, and they range from, if you look at the left side, this is a small unit with 45 kilowatt. In the midsection is 1 megawatt unit. On the right, this is a 22 megawatt unit. So we cover a full range of power-to-heat solutions where we are sector coupling, meaning we can couple the sectors electricity and heat. And power-to-heat units are extremely fast and powerful units to convert excess energy into heat. And hold on. So I'm just going to give you some background information about why we decided to develop this range, then show you some applications and case studies. I will talk about technical details of the heaters, and then I will show you some reference projects, because this is always important that you know that we have already done those projects in the past. A couple of the speakers before me already mentioned that the share of renewable energy in Germany is going up and up, which is extremely good, but renewable sources are going up and down, providing energy or not. It's mainly solar and wind power, and if you're lucky, then you have sun and wind, and it can change in the next minute to no sun and no wind, and vice versa. And this, of course, needs to be coped with. And if there's too much energy on the grid, then this leads to shutdowns. And I've only data up to 2016, but until in 2016, 15, I guess in the last 2 years, it even went up. We had extremely high shutdowns. That means unused renewable energy, where windmills were stopped, and so photovoltaic fields went off grid. And this is enormous amount of energy that has been wasted or not used. It would have been enough to charge 1.2 million electric cars for 15,000 kilometers per year, or heat up 84,000 Olympic-sized pools from 10 to 30 degrees Celsius. Of course, we cannot make use of all of this energy, but at least if you are able to use part of it and avoid the burn of fossil fuel, because this is what we're doing at the same time. To generate heat, we're burning fossil fuel and shut down renewable energy sources, which doesn't make sense. 3 very important figures you should know about Elva. We are in business now, it's more than 87 years. We have installed 2.5 gigawatt of electric heaters all over the world, and power-to-heat units we've installed last year 26 megawatt. And I'm keen on moving forward with this, especially the last figure. I would like to transfer the company completely into renewable energies. So here are some examples where power-to-heat units can be used. This has been a big business in Germany in the last years, provide control energy to support the grid in case of overload situations. So this whoever was operating those systems was reimbursed really good. So this was a good business model. It is not at the moment, but we will need those units in the future to provide stability to the grid. So there's no way to avoid this. This could be a very interesting solution for operators of CHP systems. If you have a couple of CHP systems operating in parallel and you need more heat than electricity, you can use the power-to-heat system to shift from electricity to heat. Basically, if you have a power-to-heat system with the same electrical power, then the CHP system, you can move to 100% heat if required. So it's mainly a shifting of operation point into the heat side. Then we can do counterload for grid support to stabilize voltage and frequency. And this is the same, it's almost similar as before. If you have to move from, or if the generated electricity cannot be supported to the grid, but heat is still in demand on the user side, you can shift and transfer the operating point. And of course, the use of excess power. This could be used for buildings to store heat, to heat buildings, instead of shutting down renewable sources. And I'm going to show you an example now. This is a project where we are bidding at the moment. I hope we will be awarded the contract. This is a community. It's not far away from Munich, where we are situated. And they are going to use a big battery system and a 4.7 megawatt power to heat unit and a big thermal storage tank, and then generate their own electricity, use it in the community grid. The heat is then stored and used into the district heating. So they're supplying houses, small houses and bigger buildings via their district heating system and their community grid. It's a very interesting project because of the combination of the powered heat system and the battery. The powered heat system can take really fast the energy out of the net, and in this way help the battery, which cannot be charged as fast as required if a shutdown is requested. And this is I just added this because I've seen a lot of breweries in Ireland, and I've visited a couple of craft breweries. This is a project that we've done here in Munich, where we have a small craft brewery which uses a very small powered heat system to produce thermal oil, or to heat up thermal oil, to then in secondary use heat up the brewing kettles. I guess this is the correct term for the big vessels where the beer is brewed. And now I would like to show you some technical details, because it's really important that you have a system. This is where we come from. We come from high availability, because we are 80% of our heaters are on ships or in power stations, even in nuclear power stations, and there's no room for error. So we have a design that is really very proven, stable, and easy to exchange regarding the heating elements. So it's very compact design. The heating elements, they're resistor heating elements. They can be exchanged without special tools, and we do a very thorough thermal design to avoid any hotspots in the system, which of course leads then to a longer lifetime of the heating elements. Here is some, this is the range of our powered heat products. We have a smaller unit, which is the compact one. It goes from 36 to 48 kilowatt, and then the big version, the PH2 system, that goes from 100 kilowatt to 1.667 in one unit. And now we've developed a system where we have the control unit and switching cabinet, plus the heat on a combined frame, allowing us to deliver complete units without the need to do any wiring done on site. And if you need more power than 1.6 or 1.7 megawatt, then we just add units. So we can scale up to large powers, like for a project that I'm going to show you now. I would like to present you a couple of reference projects. I'm starting from small to big. This has been the smallest powered heat unit is a craft brewery here in Munich. It was very important for me because I come from a family of brewers. We can see it here in the background on the right corner. Unfortunately, there's the forklift in front of it. It's not a good picture, but there's the thermal oil. It's electric heated, heats the thermal oil, and the thermal oil then heats up the kettles. And then we go up in power. This is a 288 kilowatt district heating system. It sits in Berlin. We have a couple of units installed in Berlin, connected to district heating system, and they are just sitting there waiting for the demand for control energy or the use of excess energy, and then transfer up to the nominal power into heat of the connected water system. This is another 288 kilowatt system. Now we're going up in power. This is a 1 megawatt unit where we have we have added this to the heating system of a big public swimming in Austria, in Innsbruck. And they have a big thermal storage, and then over the night they're using excess energy where it's cheap, and then heat up their buffer tank. And during the daytime, when they need the heat, they take it out of the thermal storage via heat exchangers to heat up the pools and the wellness area. And this is, oh sorry, one back. This is another project, very interesting. This is the best ski resort in Austria. I've been there with my wife. If you ever go there, I can highly recommend it, but please make sure your credit card is charged, because it's really expensive but excellent. And they had the problem that they're sitting inside or in the middle of an environmental protective area. They couldn't use fossil fuels and had to convert to electric energy. So we are on 100% electrical energy. I'm almost finished. Just the last big project that we've commissioned just 2 weeks ago. It's a 22 megawatt project for gas turbine counterload. It can also be used for, let's say, diesel engine as an extremely fast and precise counterload for engine testing. So here is another view, and these are our customers. So you see, we know what to do, and we have really good customers. And I hope we can find business in Ireland as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Markus. Okay, perfect. Yeah, with that, we are done with the first half of our webinar, and I would like to go into our questions and answer session. Now, Alan, if you could help me, I will direct the first 3 questions actually to Rory Summers from the Department of Climate Action. Can you please activate his camera and mic? And I will start with a question already. So Rory, I have an interesting one here, which is how do you think the movement towards sustainability and especially microgrids will progress in the aftermath of COVID-19?
Well, a good question. And I suppose across Ireland and the European Union, there's a recovery plan being put in place to try to, I suppose, undo some of the damage from the halt to the energy system and to the economy. So, in fact, microgeneration has been seen in some areas as being a good opportunity to deploy resources and to get people back to work, because it has relatively few touch points in terms of people, and it's fairly autonomous in terms of its work and planning. So you can deploy a lot of people to work in very quick, a day or two, to deploy an installation of solar PV, for example. So it gives us a great opportunity. I think it can be coupled as well with other retrofit measures, but when we move into deep retrofit in houses, for example, we have a greater impact on the homeowners and the occupants. So it's certainly something that is an area of focus, and we hope to be able to, and we know that installers are back working already in Ireland. And in fact, the number of queries in the SAI on the solar PV scheme is back to pre-COVID levels already. So things have moved quite quickly in terms of the applications. So I think it can recover quickly, and it can also be used to deploy more resources where this funding and the supports are in place.
Okay, thank you very much. Then the second question for you is even more tricky. With a new minister coming on board, do you see changes in implementing the policies in terms of if and when?
Well, Minister Eamon Ryan was formerly the Minister of Energy to government previously. And with that, he has a very strong focus in renewables, but also he's very well versed in the policy arena. He's been actively taking part in the Joint Office Committee and other forums within Ireland and the political system since leading government. So it will take very little time for him to get up to speed, I expect. Although he has a bigger portfolio, he has transport and communication networks, which he maybe didn't have before, and there are demands in every area. So I don't think we'll have a lag or a delay because we have a new minister to brief. And also the Climate Action Plan is an all-of-government plan. It has commitments, and the government is very strong in meeting those commitments. So I don't think there will be any impact in terms of the timelines of what is delivered. What we have seen through the government is specific mention of microgeneration and incentivizing the industry and engaging people in this activity. So we are waiting to see what the impact of that is in terms of targets. Will it mean we get specific targets or higher targets? It is a possibility. So that is all positive, I think, for the industry.
Okay, thank you. And then just now another last question came in. What is the latest update in microgrids or community lead power generation in Ireland regarding licensing and regulations?
Yeah, so there are two directives under the Clean Energy Package, the Internal Markets for Electricity Directive and the Renewable Energy Directive, which confer rights on citizen energy communities and renewable energy communities. Now, the Internal Markets for Electricity Directive needs to be transposed by the end of the year, and the Renewable Energy Directive 6 months later by June 21. And we are engaged with our stakeholders, and in particular the Regulated Authority, the Commission for Regulation of Utilities, CRU, in the work to work on the transposition of the directives into Irish law. And we plan to develop that also through public consultation. So we expect in Q3 and Q4 you will see public consultations around the transposition text and what will go into Irish law through the statutory instruments, and that will carry on through implementation into 2021.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much, Rory. And then I'll go to the next speaker. I have questions here for Jens Werner from Energiekoppler. Ellen, if you could help me activate the camera and microphone. I'll start already with a question. Jens, for sustainable energy community with no connection or operation system in place, what would you start with to build confidence and establish experience?
Let's summarize the question. So we have no connection to the power system?
We have no connection, no operating system, and the question is, where would you start to build the confidence in microgeneration and establish experience? It's a bit of a broad question, but yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Can you give me a translation for confidence? For trust, yeah. Yeah, it's not so easy to answer this question. So if you have no connection, then we are an islanded operation, I guess. Yeah, and so we have to realize at first balancing between generation and consumption on the electrical side, but the most or the best possibility for that will be by using the sector coupling between electricity and heat. Yeah, because the storage of heat is it's really cheap. Yeah, compared to a battery storage, for example. But I should mention that a battery storage will be perfectly in the dynamic behavior by realizing islanded operation, right? So maybe in a short answer, but we can discuss it later in the networking session more in detail.
the person who asked is Eugene Conlon, and I'll make sure I'll connect you two in terms there are any more questions. Perfect. And then another question for you, Jens. And I guess that's again specific on the projects, but the question here is in terms of optimizing the energy consumption, what are the reduced costs going along with that on average? Do you have some figures?
Yeah, we made some calculations here for Germany, some potential analysis. One potential analysis was for a combined heat and power plant in a private single-family house. Then we can see reduced energy costs for consumption by, I guess it was 15%. Yeah, by increasing the self-consumption in the building. So compared to the heat-led operation, yeah, also heat-led, we have the reference value with the heat-led operation, and then make the self-consumption optimization, and then we decrease up to this reference value the costs by 15%. And although we have the marketing against the third party, which has added a value of 5 up to 10%, it depends on the rated power, to the revenues. Another example was with electrical heating here in Germany. It's a night storage heater combined with a photovoltaic plant, and then with the revenues and the energy costs by 600 euros for a private single-family house. Yeah, and then you have to consider the specific case because everything depends on the demands which you have in the building, and it depends on the rated power which the device has.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jens. And then the next question is directed at Markus from Elva. And Markus, and the question is, can existing combined heat and power stations be operated in tandem with Elva power to heat systems?
Could you repeat the question, please, because the system was interfering?
No worries. Can existing combined heat and power stations be operated in tandem with Elva power to heat systems?
Yes, of course. This is possible.
Okay.
This is especially what I propose, that you can shift completely from electricity to heat, the operating point. And if this is not the intended use, then you can of course use the CHP system and the power grid system in tandem, and for example use electricity from windmills or photovoltaic feeds. Yes, we have. What I forgot to mention is that the most important part of our product is the control system. And we've developed a very sophisticated control system that can use almost any signal, external signal, and couple to any external control system. So we can fully integrate into any existing system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's see. Then I have another question for Ms. Gottke from the German Energy Storage Association. And yeah, Ms. Gottke, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the market here in Ireland. The question is, what do you think Ireland can learn from Germany in terms of usage of energy storage systems?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Well, it is like very beautiful to see how advanced Ireland is already in terms of the Energiewende, is interested in integrating high shares of renewables. And now today we talk about how we can do this with regional concepts. And we have seen that a lot of different technologies of energy storage technologies are already in the market, and they're economically viable. So there exists like a different set of possibilities to integrate higher shares of renewables in electricity, in the heat sector, and for mobility, as we've also seen presented by the German companies. But what is most important to support these technologies to be able to unfold their potential and to be used in the market, to be applied, is to set fair market conditions. So like conditions that are open to all different technologies, and that the regulatory framework is designed in such a way that these fair market conditions exist. So then the market for energy technologies can develop very freely, because they are already in the market, and we can see in the battery prices that they are falling a lot, so they're entering the market well on their own if you set the right conditions for them. And as already was set out from Mr. Summers in Ireland and in Germany, we're looking forward to the implementation of the EU regulation into national law that will facilitate the existence of, for example, energy communities.
Great answer. Thank you very much. Okay. Perfect. Then I see a lot of raised hands in the audience. It would be great if you can post your questions because we cannot activate your microphone. Please just post the questions in the chat. One last question for Rory before we go into the break, and then later we can go into other questions. Ellen, if you can help me here, activate Rory again. And hi, Rory, back again. Question to you is, when do you see the settlement mechanisms for Microgen being agreed? This is essential to allow the retail market to be able to develop systems and mechanisms to bring Microgen to a reality for consumers.
Yeah, it's the role of the Commission for Regulation of Utilities to implement the settlement solution. That is something which they have indicated in a recent information note. There's a link on the bottom of my presentation to that information note, but it's also on their website. They have indicated that an interim settlement solution will be in place. Its implementation will commence later in this year, and we are engaged in active discussions with them about that. It's targeted to be delivered in time for a support framework, in that it is a settlement solution for the payment of excess renewable electricity, and there are no other schemes at present to support an export payment. So delivery would benefit potential people with installations, microgenerators, around June 20.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Rory. And with that, we will go into our break. We're a little bit behind time, but just a little bit. Our break will be 5 minutes, and then we will commence again at 11:10. At the German speakers, 12:10, please. All right, see you in 5 minutes. All right, that's our break. Welcome back to our webinar. And with that, I'd like to hand over to our next speaker. First speaker of the second half, German company Euro Wind Power OHG, Susanne and Elena Möhring from, obviously you can see from the flag, from Bavaria in Germany.
Yes, thank you very much, Lucas, for your introduction. And thank you to all. Welcome here on the webinar. It's an unusual way to meet, but we really appreciate this opportunity to say hello to the Irish audience. So greetings from Bavaria to Ireland. And yeah, I would like to introduce our SUSI wind turbines, something different from maybe all the other presented products you saw right now. And I try to move on the slide. Okay, I cannot switch to the next page. Okay. So here we are. I think this is the first slide. Yes. The SUSI super silent wind turbines are development of my mother, and we developed it further throughout the last years. And we had the idea and the vision to bring a product to the public which is done by a do-it-yourself concept. So it is for individuals and for small houses, or for farmers, owners of holiday houses, individualists who follow the idea that they would like to use wind as a source of energy, as renewable energy for themselves. And therefore, we especially looked out for Ireland because, as you all know, you have a very windy area. And for sure, to use this power nature provides, you need wind, wind, and wind. So this is the reason why I wrote it on the slide. The SUSI wind turbine is a low-cost, easy-to-build, and do-it-yourself wind energy collecting device that fits into the living environment. So this was especially important for us to design the SUSI that it can easily be set up even near a house or in the garden or near a holiday place, and it doesn't disturb the optic and the feeling of nature. So maybe I start with the vision, the concept, and the idea of the SUSI super silent. The vision came in 2011 to support poor regions in the world with clean power supply. So not directly Europe or other industrial countries, but we saw a movie on TV about the refugee camps in Africa. And there we saw that the people had to burn the last branches of bushes, and we saw that there were lots of wind. So we got the idea to develop a wind collecting device with which people can make energy themselves. So my mother, Dr. Möhring, invented the wind turbine in 2011, and as we found out that the development reached a level where we could provide it to the audience and offer it on the market, we founded in 2014 the Euro Wind Power family business, and our plan was to install the SUSIs. We set up several SUSIs on our ground and in the near region here in the Bavarian forest where we are located. And the idea from the beginning was not to set up a full production ourselves, but to look for partners who could do the different parts of manufacturing the parts of the SUSI wind turbine and to work together with us. So the next slide. Yes, you can see this is also the reason why we joined in this trip to Ireland, that we are looking for partners now in countries all over the world, but especially in windy areas and in small countries like Ireland. I have to mention aside that we both are big fans of Ireland and traveled some time through your wonderful country. So this was another reason to choose this country first to make international steps. We are looking for partners also of small and medium size family businesses or craftsmen and manufacturers who would like to do woodwork, metal design on the SUSI. Also, for sure, a business selling the renewable power plants like photovoltaic, warmth pumps, or other products already, who would like to have the SUSI wind turbine as an add-on or a single product to be sold. And for sure, we also look for social partners who have the idea to have this do-it-yourself concept as a double benefit, not only to build a machine that can collect the energy and provide it either for power or for pumping, but who want to do it on their own, so that they can proudly feel that they can take part with their own handwork in the renewable energy mainstream or trend. The next slide shows, that you get an idea what I'm talking about. I added a photo of a SUSE wind turbine. Aside, I would like to mention we made a video, a film about the SUSE wind turbine in action, about 4 minutes on our website. So when you check out our website at eurowindpower.eu, in the upper right corner, you will have a button for a video, and you will see it running and how it also is set up and built. So just to mention that aside. Important to know is that the SUSE wind turbines deliver 12V power. So that can easily be stored in average batteries. You can take easily from these batteries 12V power for lights or other 12V powered products, or you can just transform them easily to 230 volts, so that you can also use it for any other electric product. The power is saved when the wind blows. Stored energy is not stored continuously, but whenever the wind blows, as also mentioned in the other presentations before. So storage is important, and you can start with a small battery storage at 120 amp hours, but you can easily increase by adding batteries the storage space if the power is insufficient and the wind is sufficient, so that you can simply store more and more. What is quite important, because wind is a natural power which causes very subjective feelings. For the SUSE wind turbine, you need at least 30 kilometers per hour, which equals 6 meters per second, to start producing power so that it can be stored in batteries. It can easily be attached also to existing photovoltaic and warmth pump or solar collector systems. For details, simply contact us and we can talk what you already have and what you would like to add. The most important thing certainly is mentioned almost at the end. The SUSE wind turbine, in difference to many other small wind turbines, is completely noiseless, so it doesn't harm you with any noise near a sleeping room or in your private area. It is self-regulating at any speed, so it doesn't have to be shut down in storms. And it is made from material where almost no maintenance is necessary. So it is meant to be set up by yourself, and then you can easily say it is running all around the year, and you don't have to worry about regulating or maintenance or something alike. Yes, then certainly, which are the places? I hope I took a right picture from a very nice Irish site. We thought about where the SUSE wind turbines have the best match to be set up. That for sure are farms, because for their sheds they could easily use 12-volt power, avoiding the risk of fire. That could also be community places like kindergarten, primary schools, youth clubs, as a project to have something for themselves, which they produce energy themselves. And also, for example, camping, holiday sites. In German, we have the name Dacha. I don't know whether you know that. This is a small holiday home for the weekend. And for sure, in coastal areas and sailors' tourism places, where you just want to use the wind for yourself and consume it at the place where you are. That is another point that the presentations before mentioned. For renewable energy, it makes most sense in our eyes also to be used at the local place where it is collected, so that you can use it yourself. Next slide. Would you, yeah, there's the next, sorry, and now it switched one too fast. The do-it-yourself concept is what is most important for us. I don't want to read now all through the different aspects. You can just have a look at this here. We are looking for partners on all different stages of a SUSE to be built. So you can say you build a project team to have it built yourself. You can be a supplier of parts and materials. You can be a salesperson to have it set up with some people at the customer side, or you can be the end user yourself. So now the rest aspects taken into account, I think I won't read through all that too much right now. And in the end, yes, what we're looking for is local partners and suppliers, teams that want to set it up, and you who want to install a SUSI. And finally, please just visit our website, use the opportunity today in the conference room, make an appointment with Lucas to meet us and ask further questions. So thank you very much for attending. And yeah, thank you, Lucas, for telling me to keep it short right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Susanne. Thank you, Elena, for the presentation. And yeah, with that already, we go to our next speaker, Mr. Neves Dabiel from Goldberg Solar, with a very, very professional setup there. Great work. Thank you, Mr. Dabiel. We look forward to your presentation.
Okay, I hope you can all hear me. It's of course unusual not to see any faces. I'm just seeing my PC screen, but I hope to meet sometime soon in Ireland after we get over these difficult times. So my name is Neves Dabiel. I'm from the company Goldberg Solar, and I just would like to use this opportunity to introduce you briefly my company. So we're established, the company is founded in 2001, and we are focusing, our core business is generally the utility scale big power plants, which you see an example here. One is a 100 megawatt peak free field ground mount utility scale projects. But not only that, and the reason why we were also interested to join this webinar and event is that we're also realizing smaller size of projects, starting from 5 megawatts peak. So we will be supporting some of the investors who will be bidding in the Res 1 tender, so it's the bigger size of utility scale solar projects, as well as in that Res 1 auction, there's a community part up to 5 megawatt size of projects. So we also have an interest to also realize community projects in Ireland as well. We have until now realized 1 gigawatt peak of capacity around the world in 15 countries. We have an order volume of 1.6 gigawatt peak to date, which most of them are being under construction. And on top of turnkey realization of solar power plants, we're also doing operation maintenance. So we have our own team who is doing the operation and maintenance of all the power plants that we realize around the world. So we have a remote a team that is sitting in the office doing the remote monitoring, and we have teams in the countries that we are active in, and subcontractors or electricians that we work together with, external parties, to do the operation and maintenance of the power plants that we have realized around the world. If I go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is a brief history. So Johan Goldbeck, he is the founder of our company since 2001, the CEO of our company, and also he's the president of the German Solar Association. So in Ireland, there's the Irish Solar Association, and the German is called DSW, and he's the president of this association. I'll just next slide. So what do we do? As I briefly mentioned a minute ago, so in the middle is the EPC, so the engineering, procurement and construction of turnkey realization of power plants. We do all the yield assessment, design, optimization, and finding the right characteristics of a project, right components for a project under this EPC topic. O&M, as I mentioned, we do the operation maintenance and monitoring. We do what we need to do in order to that the plants perform better. That's our O&M team's job. And on the first row, as you see, project development and financing. So these such big utility scale projects need to be developed. It's generally the role of the project developers. But since last year, we also started developing projects in the core markets that we are active in. So solar parks, so free field solar parks, we do a lot of commercial rooftops in Germany. So outside of Germany, we have done one in Poland, for example, and that's a 7 megawatt peak site. So we don't do small residential rooftops. Commercial or industrial bigger rooftops is also something that we are realizing in Germany a lot. Among this 1 gigawatt peak of projects that we have realized, more than 30% is was in UK between these 2013 and 15 time feed-in tariff and ROC regimes where subsidies were introduced. And by that time, we were realizing only free field projects. And we also built big substations. Maybe I can also already mention, again, to repeat myself, we are realizing utility scale, but in UK, we have 2 5 megawatt peak size of community-owned projects, which one of them we have realized last year. And so that's why we are still interested to be part of the community, bigger community projects in Ireland. This is a kind of an overview of the stakeholders for a solar project and where we are active in. So an SPV in that sense is a project entity who all the project rights are sit in here. There's a project developer, an operation maintenance party, an EPC who will be realizing the turnkey realization of the plant, a bank who will be providing debt for the plant, an investor who will be investing the equity for the project. There will have to be an asset manager. There will have to be an off-taker who will be using the electricity generated in the plant. So we are gradually spreading ourselves in from these project developer, O&M, and EPC roles also to the other parts. So we are investing ourselves as well, and we're also we will also be starting soon of the asset management of the plants. So next slide. So what is it, our value proposition? So our aim is always to deliver the highest quality for our clients, regardless of what their expectations are. We have our minimum quality standards that we want to deliver to our clients based on all these 17 years ago, or actually more than now. I need to update the slides. It's already 19 years, next year it's going to be 20 years that we are in the market. And we are all of the components that we provide is so-called tier 1. So it's the components that have proven itself in the market that we have used in several of our projects internationally. Where are we active in? So we are based headquartered in Germany. Our main office is around 45 minutes south of Frankfurt Airport. And in Europe, we are active in a number of countries, in UK, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, and Spain. And we are hoping that the Ireland will also we will be marking the also dark blue as of next year. As I mentioned, we're already in discussion with a number of investors and project developers active in Ireland who will be bidding in the Res 1 auction that's going to take place end of next month. Outside of Europe, we are active in Central Asia. We have this power plant that you see behind me. It's a 100 megawatt peak project that's in Kazakhstan. And we're also active in Chile and Mexico and Latin America. Yeah, so it's so this is our quality, and the high quality engineering is our core competence in realizing such projects. So I will just go through a couple of just references, and I will finish my presentation. This is our biggest power plant in the Netherlands, 103 megawatts peak. is an east-west orientation of the plant. This is in Kazakhstan. This is a 50 megawatt peak. This is the one that you see on my back. This is in Netherlands. This is because of the land usage, to optimize the land usage. This is an east-west orientation design. Yeah, we are currently very active in the Netherlands. That's why a number of projects are from that. This is in the UK. Again, in UK, 37. This is our biggest plant in UK, where we have also realized a substation, 132 kV substation, and with a DC capacity of 50 megawatt peak. So, yeah, so I think for further references, or maybe I just mentioned as a last topic, this is the landfill site that we have realized in Germany, which is also where it really required a detailed high-end engineering to realize this on a landfill site due to the restrictions, environmental restriction, high restrictions that we have in Germany. Yeah, so I think I don't need to go through all of the slides now. My contact details are in a number of brochures, I guess, and would be happy to meet different parties who would like to be involved in the solar market in Ireland. Thank you very much.
Lukas, du bist derzeit nicht zu hören.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry for that. So we have one question here that I would just like to quickly take up, which is, can I arrange a meeting with Goldbeck? Certainly you can. Send me an email or call the numbers indicated on the slide, for instance, and we will see what we can set up. And now with that, I would like to hand over to our next speaker, Mr. Joachim Sroka from Sroka Stahl und Anlagenbau. Mr. Sroka, stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you very much for allowing me to present company here. I look. Okay. Okay. Yes, my name is Joachim Sroka. I am the managing director of Sroka Stahl und Anlagenbau, which is based in Klosterlenien near Berlin in Germany. We are a small, innovative company with 10 employers and several external partners. Founded in 2004, we manufacture products for the storage, logistics, and environmental sectors. In our plant engineering division, we deal with renewable energies starting in 2006 with small wind turbines. Yes, thank you. Our product profile, we have two parts. The steel construction, we manufacture steel beams and steel substructures for the construction industry. For the storage and logistics industry, we manufacture heavy duty racks, stacking, and order picking systems. For the environmental sector, we realize and supply collecting tray for water polluting substance in all sizes and shapes. The renewable energies field, we supply and install small wind turbines. In response to demand, we have expanded our product range to include photovoltaics, storage systems, charging stations, and the associated building automation. The enablers use to link all sectors with one another as required. For instance, we can individually plan, supply, and install needs-based systems for private households, municipalities, and industrial companies, including grid parallel systems for saving electricity and costs, emergency power systems, and even self-sufficient standalone systems for regions with no or weak grid infrastructure. Next, please. Okay, but no, back. Yes, thank you. The basis is provided by small wind turbines with rated output of 5 to 100 kilowatt, which are combined with often already existing photovoltaic systems. The resulting hybrid energy systems range from 7.5 to 200 kilowatts and are supplemented by appropriated storage system. However, larger systems are also possible. Yeah, next please. Thank you. Yes, here you can see the results of an actually hybrid energy system for a single family household with 5 kilowatt peak PV system and 3.5 kilowatt small wind turbine. The diagram shows the annual consumption and the amount of energy produced. The average energy requirement of the household is shown as a dotted red line. The photovoltaic yields are shown in yellow. As you can easily see, we have a surplus during the summer months, but in the winter half year, there's a large deficit in the energy production relative to the household requirements to the weak solar radiation. This is where a small wind turbine. This is where the small wind turbine comes into play, shown by the blue characteristic curve. It provides the missing energy, particularly during the winter half year. In total, by combining the photovoltaic and wind yields, we achieve a more homogeneous energy generation throughout the year, shown in the green characteristic curve. This almost completely curve the household energy demands. Next, please. Thank you. Here are some examples of hybrid energy systems in the form of HET, hybrid energy tower, emergency power supplying, the infrastructure for a fresh water reservoir, or an energy supply system for telecommunication systems. Next, please. Thank you. Yes, the aim of investing is technology. In this teletechnology is provide year-round, grill-dependent, and environmentally friendly energy. The sites and cost of necessary energy store systems can therefore be reduced considerably. It enables users to decouple themselves from the ever-increasing electricity costs. E-bikes and electric cars can be charged cheaply with self-generated electricity. With electric vehicle charging stations expanded to cost around 70 cents per kilowatt in future, this is a very interesting solution. Next, please. Thank you. Applications. The possible applications are extremely diverse, from supplying eco-friendly hotels to providing cooling in agriculture, the supplying municipal and private infrastructure. Hybrid energy systems provide a real alternative wherever there is no or only a weak energy network infrastructure, and the power supply has to be secured with diesel generators. Yes, next please. Next please. Thank you. What we are looking to expand our activities, we are looking for sales partners, service partners, project developers, and final partners. Regional electric companies are also welcome as partner to support the creation of value in the region. Yes, that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Schrocker. Great presentation. And now we come to our last German company for today's webinar, and that would be Laurie Wilson from Tesvolt GmbH. Hello, Laurie.
Hello there. Thank you,
Lucas.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, as you can probably tell by my accent, I'm not a German, although I work for a German company. I'm a Scotsman who lives in England, who covers the UK and Irish markets. So hopefully I'll cover a bit of the international stuff all in one go for you. I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. I realise we're running slightly behind time, so there's a couple of bits I'll probably just skip over. So yeah, I'm Laurie Wilson, and I'm the area manager for Tesvolt. Hopefully this will work. I'll move on. Who are Tesvolt? We are a battery energy storage systems manufacturer. Although reasonably new to the marketplace, we have got many projects worldwide, including in the UK and in the Irish Republic and Northern Ireland already. This is skipping slides. There we go. Okay, so what are we about? We're about energy, anytime and anywhere. You might recognize this picture. I think Valeska used it when she gave her BVES presentation. That's an off-grid chalet, which is battery powered by Tesvolt. Where we work, we are, although a German company, we are international. We have got a subsidiary in North America, we have a subsidiary in Korea, and everything else around the world is managed from Germany. We've got projects in 6 of the 7 continents. We haven't got one in Antarctica yet, probably a bit cold for batteries down there. But everywhere else in the world, Tesvolt has systems already deployed and operational. We have Europe's first gigafactory. We beat everybody else in the industry to it. It's already operational. It's a semi-autonomous production line, and it will be producing gigawatt hours of battery capacity and will be fully operational by 2023. So we're first to market, and this just shows the investment that we are making in pushing battery technology as a key enabler for Europe and the world. Let's jump the slide out 2 seconds, sorry. Okay, it's skipping on rather than going backwards, but we'll carry on. So where do we see the market of the future? Now, there we are. Although we only started in 2014, our founders were entrepreneurs in the electrical engineering and PV industries. Before that, they came together and founded Tesvolt, and we pretty much doubled in size every year since then. We've got 2 main partners in technology. We have Samsung for our cells, and we have SMA for the majority of our inverters. What people say about us? Well, we are highly regarded on the 3 main factors. We try and support our installers and our customers to our best ability. We try and give the best level of support during commissioning. And we have very strong brand presence, not just in Europe, but across the world. For the Irish market, we see that although wind power will be the dominant renewables generation, PV will be taking an ever-increasing role. And when Rory's from DCCAE spoke about the policy for increasing in generation, we think this will be a key part of it. And 2030 really isn't that far away when you look at how the markets are developing. The Irish market, as far as we see it, the dominant sector will be for batteries, for the integration of PV and wind power into grid and off-grid applications, with peak load shaving, emergency power, and virtual power plants, and some off-grid, along with EV charging being the other main success factor areas that installers and customers can focus on. As I said, Rory spoke about the regulations and the associations with Valeska already, so I'll skip on from that. So what does set us apart from the others in the industry? Well, when we design a system, we've designed it to have longevity and capability. The cells that we use from Samsung have up to 30 years operational life. They have 100% depth of discharge, a very high cycle life with a very high warranty behind it. We have very, very low standby power, so the parasitic loads are virtually nil. And we can discharge and charge these systems in an hour. So when you start looking at things like frequency response applications or long-term capability, the battery is able to deliver those consistently and constantly. With a very, very high battery efficiency level, we aim to deliver what's called the levelized cost of storage. That's the whole life cost or total cost of ownership for owning and operating the battery system. And we aim to have the lowest LCOS on the market for lithium battery technologies. How companies benefit from working with us? Our technology is proven. The cells that we use developed by Samsung were developed for the e-mobility automotive sector for Daimler-Benz and BMW. So we know that they have the highest safety standards and capability. We can work across a number of application areas. We offer things like remote monitoring and remote O&M to drive down the whole life cost. We aim for very low maintenance but highest economic efficiency. So when you calculate that LCOS and include all the other ancillaries like the warranty and things that go with it, we try to offer a best in market. And because of that, we position ourselves as an innovator in the battery technology sector. And that is the differentiator that we, our installers, and people like EPCs then get the benefit of. So what makes a good storage system? The capability to charge and discharge at 1C or below 1C if you wish to, high efficiency and low standby losses, flexibility, safety, long lifetimes, and smart battery management. And this last one is an area where one of our USPs come in. We have a proprietary battery management system and active power unit, which means that rather than burning off power within the cells when you do system balancing, we actually move power between cells, and that drives efficiency. That drives that very, very high self-efficiency level that I mentioned a couple of slides ago. So I'll very quickly go through this because others have spoken already about applications battery storage, but where we see the main ones for any market anywhere in the world, it's charging stations being now an emerging sector where constraints or limited capability mean that you're unable to deploy EV charging points because of a lack of a connection or the inability to upgrade a connection. Batteries then provide that buffer between the EV charging point and the grid connection. Increasing self-consumption, vital nowadays when looking at optimizing whether PV or wind assets or hydropower. Being able to use more of what you generate usually is more cost effective than selling it back to the grid if that option's available to you. Diesel hybrid optimization, yeah, in many cases a lot of companies will still have diesel gensets, and there are times when they need to be there because there won't always be the capability built in. But by building batteries in with diesel systems, you can hybridize them and drive up their efficiency. So you only run the diesel genset when you need to, and you capture any excess over generation, stick it in the battery, and then turn the genset off. And finally, for the Irish market, we've seen definitely with things like DS3 coming along to provide capability to the Irish grid, frequency balancing and frequency regulation are going to be key market opportunities. The industries we cover, whether they be constant load, cold storage, livestock farming, whether they be peaks like butchery and bakery, or dairy farming where you've got that twice a day cycle of milking and cleaning, through to more flattened consumption, but where that consumption tends to be in expensive times of the day, late afternoon, early evening. And then you've got fairly flat profiles, but where capability and ongoing power continuity is key. Our range of products go from single phase low voltage down at the small kilowatt hour end, aimed at SMEs and small commercial users, right the way down to megawatt hour containerized systems for supporting large scale consumption, PV farms and all the rest of it. And each of these has a different capability set, and the product mix then allows us to target and deal with pretty much any application that's required at the moment. Our specialist partner program, very briefly, we are looking for partners, be they installers, EPCs, or very large scale end customers. What we try and do is work with you to help you build your business, and our partners are our footprint into the marketplace. We have 3 levels: specialist, senior, and expert partner, and I'm happy to discuss them in more detail with anybody who's interested afterwards. And that's us. I'm Tess Volt in the UK, and thank you very much. Thank you, chat to you.
Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, Laurie. Great presentation. And with that, that was our last presentation for today for the webinar. Again, a quick Q&A before we go into the networking session. And I would like to open up with two more general questions. One question was again about the presentations. Yes, all the presentations will be available online as well as the webinar recording. We will send you the details. It will also be available now on our website. If you look for specific presentations, again, you can also email me and we'll make them available. Second question is somebody would like to have an offline discussion with one of the German companies. We will establish the contact, certainly. Please also use the networking opportunity later where you can talk with the German companies directly. And then I would like to direct the first question again at Tesvold. Laurie, if you can come back on our digital stage. And I suppose you can already hear me, so I'll start with a question. I think you already answered it in your last slides, but it came up before, but maybe you can just repeat this. What scale are you offering the batteries for? Only for industrial usage or also for household scale?
We don't have a residential product, although our very small TS48 low voltage system can be used for larger households where you're looking at integrating a large number of renewable or charging systems. So if you're looking at putting an EV charging point in your house, supported a car, and you want fast charging at home, then one of our systems, our small systems, would do that. But we're not looking predominantly at the residential market. It's commercial, SMEs up to large scale.
Okay, and same again, a question to you, Laurie. In terms of feed in, what kind of technologies or what kind of renewables can be used? Any restrictions?
Pretty much we can work with any kind of renewable generation technology, whether it's wind, solar, anything like that, even hydropower. We've got tidal power now working with batteries as well. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Laurie. No problem. Then I have a question for Euro Wind Power, Susanne and Elena. And the question is, can the micro wind turbine be working both connected on and off grid?
Yes. Yes, sure. It's no problem at all. You can either use it off grid, which was mainly the idea, but you can also attach it to a house or residential where you have the grid, so it doesn't have any effect on the grid supply as well.
Okay. And in terms of scale, what scales can you offer? Is it only for a household size or say also larger farms?
In principle, if the wind is sufficient, of course, we can scale up to at maximum output of 4 kilowatt. But generally, that is our finding throughout 8 years of doing. It is a better idea to have 2 SUSIs with 1 kilowatt running than powering up the generators, just because the amount of incoming wind is simply defined by the height and the diameter of the turbine. Means if not enough wind comes in, it is better to stand up more catching equipment than to just power up the generators.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a question here for Goldbeck for Mr. David. And the question is, how do you evaluate the potential of PV in Ireland considering the weather conditions here?
Can you repeat the switching to video? It was cut.
No worries. How do you evaluate the potential of PV in Ireland considering the weather conditions here?
Well, the best thing about PV is, or there are a number of things that are very positive about PV. One is it can be installed anywhere in the world, regardless of what the weather conditions are. It would be generating even in the North Pole. Definitely it wouldn't, taking into account one panel, would be generating less than half of what the same panel would be generating in Spain. But this doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense. It does make sense everywhere, and that's why the Irish government is also running this auction, Res 1 auction, because they have seen, which takes me to my second point, the positive thing about PV is the cost reduction in PV has been so dramatic that the PV is now able to compete in a really big number of electricity markets around the world. In that auction, I will not be surprised if the prices that are offered with the PV plants that's going to be generated, that's going to be competitive, maybe even lower than the electricity price in Ireland. So look, from that perspective, yes, in Ireland, maybe the irradiation levels are much lower, but the developments in PV, in terms of technology and in terms of price reduction, this will enable all countries globally to install and invest in PV. I hope this answers your question.
I think it should. Thank you very much. Okay. And then I have a last question here. Again, if you have any questions, I would ask you to put them into the chat now, into the question section. Otherwise, the last question I have here for today is directed at Rory again. So if Ellen, you could help me put Laurie back on. Yeah, there we go. Not Laurie, sorry, Rory. Sorry.
Okay.
See you later, Laurie. So yeah, the question's directed at Rory Somers from the Department of Climate Action. And Rory, I think you are self-muted. You need to unmute yourself. Okay. Just some other points then first, until Rory's back. So that is officially the end of the webinar. However, I would really like to invite you to take part in the networking, and I will post the link again in the chat where you can speak directly with the German companies or with the other 140 attendees or participants of this webinar. Just to summarize, I think we had some great presentations today, different technologies really across the board. And I do hope that this contributes to collaborations. I hope that many Irish businesses will take this opportunity to get in touch with the German companies. And I hope that deals will be struck and collaborations will be built, and that we can see some more development in this area. And okay, I see some more questions coming in here. In the meantime, I have a question for this time Laurie again. Laurie from Tesvolt. Yes, this time is you, Laurie. The question is, what is the smallest system in kilowatts you could offer?
The smallest inverter that SMA do for the TS48 is a 3.3 kilowatt system, and that would be on a single phase connection. The smallest three-phase would be 9.9 kilowatts. Okay,
perfect. That answers the question. And I think we have some technical difficulties here with Rory. Oh no, now Rory's coming on. Okay, perfect, Rory. No worries. The question I have for you here is the proposed microgrids, microgeneration support scheme will potentially support projects up to 50 kilowatt. And the RESS scheme supports projects from 500 kilowatts upwards. Are there any plans in support projects between 50 and 500 kilowatts?
Yeah, a good question and an obvious gap. So thanks for that question. We are certainly looking at options in the market at the moment. So there's a piece of analysis work that we're doing in conjunction with SCAI around the supports, particularly around communities, for that gap between microgeneration 50 kilowatts upper limit and the lower limit of the renewable electricity support scheme at 500 kilowatts. So that work is underway at the moment, and it's likely, I think, that there will be some public consultation around that later in the year. But it's in the start of the work, and I guess it wasn't in the climate action plan originally, but I guess in the policy area we recognise that this is a gap that people would like to know what is coming, and to see what supports might be available in the future.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, and that's a good end for this session. Thank you again, Rory, and to each and everybody in the audience. Again, thank you for participating. To each of the speakers, thank you very much for great presentations, and I hope to see everybody at the networking event. Thank you.